Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Going Over. I am your neighborhood-friendly coach, trainer, promoter, 43-year-old, still professionally wrestling, damn it. And I'm joined alongside my podcast partner.
There he is. He's over this way.
That way. The 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. And Paul, you know this man. I know this man. When you told me this man was coming on the show, I had a lot of topics I wanted to talk about, but here we go. If there's new kids out there, because I know they've been listening, we just came off the Prospects, Friday Night Prospects show. If there's new kids out there, you don't know what you're missing. And with your little phones in your hand, please go look up a man. He's the rock legend Scum. And before that, he was the trendsetter. And between me and him before that, there was a lot of good and plenty going on. But I'm going to say it right now. I just told him, and for the first time, my favorite professional wrestler, ladies and gentlemen, Adam Thornstowe. Adam, welcome to the show. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Excited to be here.
Of course. Hey, this is the way that I can pull some strings. Like, I'm almost Adam's best friend. So, I mean, that's, I was able to pull so close. Pulled some strings. So, we've said this to a couple of different people, but it's we started this podcast, because we've been talking about it, and finally we decided to kick each other in the ass and say, hey, we're going to do this. But there's a laundry list of people that were like, you have to have this person on the show. Adam, you're obviously one of the guys that was on that list. And, I know that, with everything that's going on, hip surgery, getting out, wanting to ride your bike, kids in soccer, sporting events, work, being married, all of those things add up. And, I'm just glad that we're able to carve out a niche of time that you can jump on here and have a conversation. But, I think I would be remiss without directing this conversation towards tag team wrestling. And I know it's one of those things. You're Zach's favorite wrestler. You're definitely one of my favorite wrestlers just to watch. You can do all the single stuff. But I think for the most part, probably people know, you as part of the Reno SCUM, and so many things go through my head when I watch tag team wrestling, basically because I had the opportunity to ride in cars with you for decades and talk about things, making things make sense, and how you would do something differently, how you would structure things. So I think that's the perfect topic for us to jump into, as far as covering something with somebody who probably could teach a lot of people a lot about the art. And like you've heard on 100 different occasions, you've probably forgotten more things about tag team wrestling than most people know. So, Zach, you have any specific questions? Because I have dozens probably of things that I see that I'd like to get Adam's opinion on, but
I do. Many times me and Rick Luxury have worked Luster the Legend and Adam Thornstowe. I felt like when we were in APW, we were trying to build to something bigger out of that fucking garage so we could take it somewhere else. I wanted the steel cage somewhere. We ended in the lumberjack match. Here nor there. So we just had a prospect show, Adam, and I always tell people, I say, and I'm going to let you get into this. I always tell them about tag team wrestling, and it's so easy for guys like us that have been doing it a while.
Yep.
But for these young guys, especially if they don't ride with each other, they don't know each other, they don't have that camaraderie, drink together, barbecue together, hang out together. Tag team wrestling is something that, if with me and Rick, I know that if we're booked, Rick's not going to fuck my booking. and Rick knows I'm not going to fuck his booking. So I can rely on my best friend as we move along in our career. So for somebody, just let us know how long. I know since I've known you, man, because I remember you started with Malachi a little bit. How long have you and Luster the Legend been teaming before you guys stopped? And I'm going to start out with the first thing, and that's the classic corner to corner cutting that tag ring off, man.
Yeah. So Luster and I's actual first tag match together was probably like 2002 or 3 in Florida. There's a wrestler out in California for a while named the Bug, and he brought us out to IPW. It was kind of a mess back then. Like, we landed, we didn't know who was picking us up. We had one little scrap of paper in our wallet with a phone number on it. Didn't even have the net. You know what I mean? So it's like, fuck, what are we fucking doing? So we get there and we tagged against this team called the Vandals, and it was actually really fun. Like, it was a good job. You know what I mean? Like, Lester and I go way back. Like, I've told the story where, like, he convinced me not to drop out of school to go to APW. Like, I finished high school and wound up getting trained in Reno. But we kind of knew it back then in, like, 02. We're both big fans of tag team wrestling as kids, the Rockers, obviously Legion of Doom, Heart Foundation, Demolition. So you could feel the chemistry at that point in Florida, you know what I mean? And so it wasn't until probably, I'd say, when did we do Harley's camp, Steve? When did I go with you?
I think you went in 08. I think
Yeah.
I went 07 with like Luster and Malachi, maybe Virgil.
So it was like
and I think you came
7.
the next year.
Like, we started I know for sure we were a tag team by the time we went to Harley's in 08. And it just, like, it's like you said, like, he's not going to fuck my booking. I get along with him. I ride with him. There's a lot of kids out there. They're like, oh, tag team wrestling, whatever, right? And you get like 4 talented guys in the ring, and it's not that good for some reason because they don't click. They don't understand the fundamentals of it because it's 4 singles wrestlers, and you really have to let that go because I love being a singles wrestler, right? Like, I loved singles matches, but tag team wrestling, and I said it for years, and I was so glad, and I'm going to ramble, but I'm so glad WWE finally did it when it was Usos and Zayn and Steen, or Kevin Owens. They main evented WrestleMania, and I was like, forever. I was like, tag team wrestling should main event WrestleMania in the right circumstance, and that was the right circumstance. But yeah, getting back to that, Lester and I, we kind of went all in on Reno SCUM. We were Reno SCUM in the streets here before we were ever Reno SCUM as a tag team. Just punk rockers, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. When I met Lester when I was backyard wrestling, it was just like, yeah, like, that's my dude. And so we started, and it was simple because of what we grew up watching when you talk about cutting off the ring, right? Like, if you draw, I brought my little iPad thing. If you draw diagonally right there, you only get that side. That's your side, right? You get that little triangle, and don't shoot the guy towards his fucking partner, right? Fucking slap him on the back or pretend like he's a fucking moron. Like, oh, I guess I'm not studying. That's my biggest pet peeve. And I actually learned, we were in Philly with Ring of Honor, and the Briscoes were doing a thing with them, and they talked about the way you stand on the post. So again, here's the thing. So if someone's standing on this side of the post, the other guys are standing on this side of the post, and it just gives you different corners. And I'd have to be at somebody's school to really explain that to them, but you don't want to stand on the same side of the corners. And that's really important on TV too, obviously from a hard cam standpoint. Sometimes that gets a little muddy, but you always know you can whip to 2 ropes that way. And that guy needs to stay there and cheerlead. And that's another thing you see that drives me nuts is Luster was always the best at it because 9 out of 10 times I was the beatdown, right? Like, I have a good hot tag, but it doesn't make sense from psychology standpoint, from a size standpoint. Working his leg gets tired, right? And that's what everybody always wants to do. I'm like, it's just a bullshit fucking thing. You guys are lazy. So I will take the heat. So you pick me up and slam me. But you watch Luster in any of our matches, and he's this the whole time, and like he gets it too. He's not just sitting there, oi, 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 for the fuck of it, or clapping his hands for it. Like he knows what spot at what time to start stomping his feet. He knows I'm not gonna make it. He knows when to really G him up with the ois when I'm gonna actually make the touch. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know where I'm going with it, but like you guys have to stop me and bring me back a little bit. But like, it is so important for these kids not to stand with their arm on the, you know what I mean? Like I can do that because I got my ass beat for 10 minutes, so I'm got to sell, and I got to pull myself up and climb up to the top and do some bullshit, right? These guys will stand there, they'll watch their buddy. Like I know that's not your buddy because you don't give a shit that he's getting his ass kicked. You know what I mean? Like you felt my selling on the apron through Luster. You know what I mean? Like when I was in pain, he was in pain, and like I was never as good at it as him. But it always reminded me, like I knew when, like the cues, right? I know when to get a clap started or when to get the ois started or whatever your guys' thing is. But like he was just like it was perfect at it. You know what I mean? Like we always talk about like the crowd goes wild or the crowd goes mild, and hardly ever did the crowd ever go mild when we made the touch. You know. So
Absolutely. So I definitely wanted to touch on the where you stand in the corner, right? That's the thing that infuriates me the most is, and obviously it was something that I learned from being in the car with you guys, because I would have had no idea about how important it is to have those two open ropes to use to shoot a guy off of, right? So that's what pisses me off the most is if you're going to shoot a guy, don't shoot him to the rope that his partner is standing on, because either his partner is going to look stupid because he doesn't blind tag while he's standing right there within arm's reach, or he's going to blind tag. I mean, like, I don't know what your feeling about that is. Like, if you weren't supposed to tag in at a certain time, but a guy makes that mistake and shoots Luster against your rope, would you tag yourself in and just go, we'll figure it out from there, even though that's not the direction the match was going to go? Or would you, they call it the T-Rex arm or whatever. It's like somehow you couldn't reach him, or, I tell these younger guys that, you need to either, if you see that they're getting ready to shoot a guy off your rope, you need to maybe turn to the audience and like almost like you're trying to get him involved. And so you didn't see your guy getting whipped to the rope, or something needs to distract you so you're not standing there watching your partner hit the rope right next to you. And for some reason, just like you said, if your partner doesn't see that you're getting your ass kicked and capitalize on an opportunity to tag himself in and go beat the other guys up, in your honor, there's something wrong. So Zach, I see like you're chomping at the bit to jump in here. So
I always am, man. I'm a
of course.
too. I always looked at tag team wrestling as a way in the back door, man. Like everybody wants to be the main event. Everybody wants to get that time, and we all have egos, man. We all want that little bit of narcissism. We want to be the top guy. But tag team wrestling, nobody really wanted to be tag team wrestlers. Everybody wanted that top spot. So when you come in as a tag team, you're given that segment, you're given that time, whether it's 20 to 30 minutes, and you can go out there and you can get yourself the fuck over, man. You can get over with that audience. You have a lot more time and a lot more freedom to do that. And I've done that with Rick countless times where we end up getting thrown into the main event. We did it at Fog City a lot, where we get thrown into the main event in other companies where it's like, oh, we're going to break you guys up now because you guys are over. The audience likes you, so we want to put you in that situation. I gave some kids some advice. I went to the matinee show for Ugly Dojo. And for me, Adam was saying it about the pounding on the apron and everything. And that's where we always talk about the ear for the audience, because the audience is going to tell us when it's time to cut the wrestler off. We're gonna be just moving around, and the baby's gonna be whatever he does. It doesn't have to be on the mat, but we're gonna be out wrestling and outshining the heel. And when the audience starts really getting into that, the heel goes, all right, I'm gonna cut this motherfucker off now. And then now we listen to the crowd and we start to bring them up. And when they get as loud as they possibly, there's my hand, as loud as they can possibly get, here's this.
Yep.
That's where we tag, because that's the hot tag. And if we don't tag there, if we miss that and that clapping starts to lower in decimal, then it's a cold tag, because when that hot tag happens, the place should erupt off of just this.
Yep.
And then bump, boom, bump, boom. And then there's a bigger bump. And now we got him here. Now we can go to the finish. And I was telling this kid, the heels had the baby face in the corner, right, Adam?
Mm-hmm.
And he's stomping on him, but they're not cheating yet. But the crowd, because he's isolated in the heels corner, the crowd's up and the ref's going 1, 2, 3, 4. And the baby face over there in the opposite corner isn't doing nothing.
Yep.
So then the same thing happened with the tag. But I told him afterwards, I said, when the heel is in the corner and he's stomping or shoulders or whatever, and the crowd's reacting, you have to come in the ring. That heel has to turn around and hit you or spit at you or something, but you have to come in the ring at this point. So you draw the ref. So now you guys can cheat right there, and it's going to elevate that heat so much more, man.
Yeah, it's simple too, right? And I listened to, I don't know if it was your guys' first podcast, like you talk about it, like Al Snow said it to you, right? Don't put times on matches. Sure, for indie shows, I agree, right? I mean, hopefully we don't have like 6 3-minute matches and everyone goes home, but like it's the same with tag wrestling. It's the same with the cutoff. It's the same with the false tag. It's the same with the hot tag. Like, and it's an art, right? And you have to do those kind of dojo shows or your prospect shows to get to know how to do that. But like Luster would G them up to like maybe here, and then we do a fake tag, right? Where maybe I'm fighting back, boom, boom. I bump the guy off the apron and I go for the tag, but that guy circles around and pulls his foot right as I dive, right? But you don't go right to the fucking hot tag next. Then they fucking gotta fucking make me fucking eat some more shit for a little bit. And then he G's them way up, and then it's boom, and it usually works. You know what I mean? And we stole it. I mean, I every moment I ever spent with the Briscoes, I love, but that's who we always stole it from. I would always call it the Briscoe spot because they did it to us, and you know what I mean? It just works. But like tag team wrestling, like people have to get the fundamentals, because just like any other match, right? Start it, babyface shines, cut off, hot tag, go home, or false and go home, right? But there's so much more you can do with 4 guys if 4 guys can do that stuff, right? It's a lot to remember. With cues, like Luster always had that. Like, oh, but I could look at it like I'm just good. I just know it all. You know what I mean? For whatever reason, that was like my superpower in the ring. Like I don't forget spots. And it's okay if you do, because you can just, if you're good, you don't need the spots, right? Like, but I like to see, and we would ask people, like, do a fucking 5-10 minute tag match at your guys' schools on the fly. You can really do a tag team match if you can do it on the fly, right? Because usually you need to know, like, where's the cut? Like, to have a really good tag match, you should have cues for your apron guys, right? But like, if you go out there, and Ugly used to run those shows, the lotteries, and you'd get fucking stuck with people, and they'd be like, "Oh, so I just go home, man. Like, fuck you, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't give a shit. I'm winning." But do tag matches with your students just so they know, because once they start traveling, hey man, I need you to just actually fill in tonight because so-so's not unreliable. If you can do a tag match on the fly, you can do anything in business. Or a triple threat, I guess. Triple threat's the worst fucking match in the world to me. They're so hard. Almost as hard as a tag match with like it. I mean, sorry, like I'm getting off topic, but like I think about like more in TNA, right? And whoever goes over, and now this fucking 12-minute seg is a fucking 5-minute seg with entrance, right? So it's easy for us because it's like boom, boom, we shut them down because we're heels on Impact. You know what I mean? You have to know how to do that stuff. But it all goes back to the basic fundamentals of professional wrestling, of knowing how to basically do a 4-corner drill with these guys, but only with 2 corners. You know what I mean? Triangle the ring. That's all you have to do. Oh, you gotta let the guy fucking crawl, and you grab him by the tights, and you throw him back in your corner. Like, it's so fucking easy. But you watch these guys with their fucking head up their ass, like, what do I do? I'm like, just wrestle. What would you do if it was a singles match? You would grab the guy if he was crawling. Why don't you grab the guy when he's crawling towards his partner? I don't get it. It's like we overcomplicate. And because the spot is so cool that you can do with 4 people or double teams or whatever, but like truly the heat is so easy where that babyface punches you in the gut and looks to his corner for his guy for help, and that motherfucker better have his hand out for you, right? I hate that when guys reach in and the guy's just this guy on the corner, right? Always that guy on the corner. Like, just get out, man. You know what I mean? Like, it was the old days, like Mustafa would kick your ass backstage, you know. But I don't know where I'm going with it, but like tag team wrestling, that cutoff and using that part of the ring, and then getting creative with your half of the ring, that triangle, right? You cut the square in half, you get a triangle, and what can you do with it, right? And I mean, I remember doing one. It was for Fog City. It was Cage and Baby Slim, but it was at some casino for Dom. And I don't know if Cage just made him up or he saw him somewhere. He had all these cool things to like get people out of the ring up to the hot tag. Like, I can't, remember him now, but like, you know what I mean? You need guys like that who are singles wrestlers who understand the art of tag team wrestling, and went on for a little bit to be a tag team wrestler. He's obviously a single star, but like get those the other team, you know what I mean? And then like Luster and I would sit there and we'd have to pull away. Sometimes, you know, you get to that point where like Mac could bring, like we wouldn't be fly-ins, but we were the top tier local guys. So then the younger guys, and then Luster and I are arguing about what to do, you know what I mean? Because like I love younger guys who are hungry, right? So I was like, I want to give them everything. And he's like, dude, we got to eat their fucking lunch. You know what I mean? They're fucking maybe as heavy as you combined, both 110 pounds. Like, I'm like, I know, but like, what if we? And then he's right. You know what I mean? But I'm like, I hate it going out there once you get to a certain level and you understand it and not doing it all, you know? But you have to. Like, there's different shows for that. Like in Reno, when I watched you, and I can't remember, it was the 2.
Yeah, it was the mariachi guys.
Yeah,
Mariachi boys.
but like, that was the
Oh,
opener for that show, or maybe it wasn't it was the second match.
yeah, but it was like it was the main opener for that show, and
But it
it's
was
just
like that.
yeah.
I mean, the guys were green, not you, Zach, but like the guys were green, so they're a little soft. But that's the match to watch for tag team wrestling, right? For Reno. But you don't go to West Coast Pro and do that tag match, right? Like that's the other thing. You have to know where to do what match. The big always works in a sense, though, right? If you can be in control of your audience and listen to their cues and give them what they want, so they're like, you know what I mean? Like you can do that match with a little more because these super indie crowds expect a little more than that, right? But like that match was so good, you know what I mean? Like you were on the apron the whole time as a piece of shit heel, but the mariachi guys, I don't even know if they knew that they were doing it. Like they were live the whole time. You have 4 guys not in the ring. You have 4 guys at all times, and they have to all be doing something while not taking away from what's going on in the. I hate the corner guy who acts like the fucking dumbass manager who goes into business for himself, right? Like, settle down. If you don't know, you don't know. That's fine. But like, you know what I'm talking about, though. The guys were just like, all about me. I don't, and especially the baby face when his buddy's getting beat down, that's trying to pop the crowd the whole time for him. I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. You don't get it. But
Do you I remember Paul asking me, I wanted to get something real quick after this, but I remember Paul asking me for the next show. He said, who do you guys want to work? And I said, well, I want to work those fucking those Mexican guys again. He said, oh, you want to wrestle those guys? I said, well, they wanted to learn, man. They wanted to learn. They got their dance over. We're creating a tag team division. I turned the pinfall over on him at the end when he had the cover. I got behind the ref's back and turned the pinfall over on my way out the ring. They got to come back and they got to catch us cheating this time, and they got to get us. And then now we're 1-1. So now we got to go to a third one. That's how you build a tag division. And what I really loved though was I got knocked over the top rope, and it was really hard working with these guys. They were green, but they're good size, good gimmick. They understood it. And I'm on the floor, And this is what these young kids, a story I want to tell them, because we've been doing it so long. I'm on the floor and I'm like, elevation, I'm blown up. I'm sitting here. I'm like, God, I need another cigarette. And I see you walking from the table with Paul, and we're having a full conversation on your way out the door. You're like, I gotta go. And I look at you and I go, and you go, I know. And I go, later on, buddy. You know what I mean? So, and then I go right back to what I'm supposed to do in the ring, because like you're saying, Adam, this is so easy. And there's so many ways to do it, because you're bringing up like different styles of tag wrestling, West Coast Pro, AEW, what, but either way you do it, if you do it the way we're doing it, where the heels don't do shit but cut off the ring and build the heat with the audience, it's gonna work everywhere, man. That formula, it's gonna work.
Yep, it works, and then you can do that, and then you do your high spots after the hot tag, right? And they're just bigger, right? When you dumb it down to the basic fundamentals of tag wrestling, and you get people invested, right? I forget who asked, they're like, how do you go somewhere new? Like when someone flies you in, and Tim Thatcher and I were talking about one time, I was like, I don't really give a shit. Like if nobody knows who I am the first time I'm somewhere, like if some promoter wanted to take a shot on me and Luster, right? And they're like, yeah, come out. And you come out, and it's kind of crickets at first, but like it's only crickets for 30, 45 seconds. And then they're just like, holy shit, because you know who you are and you believe your own shit when you walk through the curtain, right? And then you can leave it in the ring and go back to being whoever. Like, you know, I hate those guys who think they're the same guy all the fucking time. You know what I mean? But like, if you know who you are when you walk out, they will believe in you. You know what I mean? I mean, unless you're just in the worst place, like that doesn't like we've all been in those places with like 8 people. Like, why am I here, man? Like, why did you buy a ring? Whoever in the butt fuck of, you know, Mississippi or whatever. But like, it's just, you have to believe your own shit. But like what you said, like when I said goodbye to you, I could do that at any moment. I'm not going to name names, but I could do that at any moment in the ring. And a guy gave me a really shitty, untrained Russian leg sweep one time. And elbow on the mat. And you could just see it in my eyes. And it's back when we were wearing the leather pants with the studded belt. And he just took his belt off and started whipping the shit out of the guy, right? Because he knew I was fucking pissed off. My elbow swole up like a grapefruit. But it was the look, right? I said a million words with one fucking look.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows that too. And when you wrestle, say, like you and Rick, right? And you look across the ring at Luster, like you guys are talking without talking, right?
Yep.
But sometimes you look at those green guys, and you're like, they don't know what the fuck I'm thinking, right? We shouldn't do that. Like, don't do that.
Which is our favorite match. Me and you used to fight at the little hole in the curtain.
Yep.
And you were talking about it, like the tag match. And I was telling him on the previous one, I was like, you know what? I mentioned you. I said, me and Adam used to fight to get to the little hole in the curtain when it was a shit match. We were like, shit match. Yes, baby. But like, what is the best shit match? The best shit match is two shitty tag teams with a shitty referee and a shitty fucking manager. You're like, oh my God, I got 6 shitty people out here at the same time. I can't.
I might go around and watch from the top, you know?
Oh, it's the best. You know, and it goes back to this, because I like to talk about a lot of different stuff, but I wanted to ask Paul something real quick, but I wanted to tell you, I remember me and you had our last match at the Municipal Auditorium at the time.
Yep.
And I remember we were going to go like 25, 30. We didn't do much, but I mean, we went. And I remember the match started, and it was something that you taught me right there, because I was so amped about the match and we had a big crowd. So Paul, the fucking bell sounds, and I just come wheeling around the bend on the waltz, right? I mean, I'm fucking I'm coming at Thornstowe around the bend, bro, and I remember I get up close to him, and he looks at me, and he's just standing there staring at me, and he goes, slow the fuck down. And I'm like, all right, yeah. So I backed up a little bit, and I'm like, all right, because I was coming at him aggressive, like I wanted to. We were going to do a fucking 30-minute just chain wrestling, hard hitting contest. And then I saw him just standing there with his legs spread out like this. And he's like, slow the fuck down, man. And I'm like, all right, cool. But what I wanted to ask you, Paul, is so I go to a Next Level show, and a lot of it's like film for TV, and there's a lot of inexperienced guys there. But I remember I showed up one night, and it was Paul Isadora versus Luster the Legend. And Adam, these two dudes went out there, clotheslined the 7-footer over the top rope, spilled to the floor. I mean, he went over 100 miles an hour. I know kids that are 160 pounds who can't even go over backwards over the top rope. Luster superplexed him over the top. And I don't think I knew what I was watching, but I don't think anybody in that crowd or anybody in that locker room had any idea what the fuck they were getting at that moment. So, Paul, for you, when you show up at some of these shows, what is the best advice? Like, say Adam Thornstowe pops up at a show. You're doing, you know what I mean? Boyce LeGrand's at a show. What is the best advice now that you just started the school? Congratulations. You got 10 new students, man. What's the best advice you give these kids when you see an Adam Thornstowe in the locker room?
Well, as much as Adam would be bothered by being surrounded by a bunch of people, I also think that he would be very giving to these people. So just, going and having that conversation, it might be like the situation at the last show where, hey, man, I'm only going to be able to watch this first match. But, hopefully there's an opportunity where you see him and you go, hey, man, love your work, or maybe they don't know who he is, but, hopefully just the aura. I feel like when people like Adam show up to a show, it's noticeable because everyone is wanting to talk to him. So, if you see those type of people, those are the people that you want to go introduce yourself to and ask them, hey, could you do me a favor? Could you watch my match? Could you give me a critique on it? And, like we do for this channel, like it has to be a situation where don't fucking waste his time. Don't go up and go, hey, can you watch my match? If you're not going to take constructive criticism and go and try to fix something, right? Because Adam's going to see 100 different things that you did wrong, and he'll point out a few things that you did right. Hey, I like this thing that you did. I think you should do more of that. Maybe put it in a different spot of the match. But he's going to give you a laundry list of things that you could do better. So you need to take note of those things, and you need to go home and you need to go, hey, he gave me 10 things to work on, but I'm going to fix the first one on that list that he mentioned. Work on getting that correct, and then go down that list because, if he takes his time out to give you that feedback, like I said, don't waste his time, because the next time that he comes across you, if you haven't fixed what he saw the previous time, then he's not talking to you anymore. And I think pretty much the same goes for all of us. Like I want to tell someone, hey, I saw this in your match, and I want to see the next time that they fix that. So, take advantage of the guys that have been around. Adam, being at the highest level of the majority of us that have been on the West Coast scene, doing this on TV, you could say as a career, making money, buying things based off of wrestling because you're stacking this money aside that you're making. So take advantage of that thing. Adam was a great merchandise guy as well. We're going to come to the shows. We're going to have a suitcase full of stuff, right? A bunch of different shirts you can buy, different little trinkets. I think that's another thing, like merchandising stuff. You can go and go, hey, what do you think? How many shirts can I have? Like I remember watching Jeff Cobb having his like checklist of all the shirts that he had, all the sizes, all those things. And because he was just going to reorder the stuff. If I sold it, I'm going to reorder it. And I'm going to have every size. I'm going to have plenty of stuff so people can buy stuff at the shows, you know, and I don't think people understand, you know, Adam goes to a show, you know, he gets his payout, right? That's going to cover some stuff, but he's really going to make his money on selling merchandise on top of that. So you can go home with, you know, $600-700 in your pocket versus the $350 that you're charging just to wrestle, something along those lines, you know. So
when you're
what was
done,
that?
I want to touch on that when you're done too, because like if you're watching this and with your buddy and you're like, I want to be a tag team, you got to decide early on how you're going to do that merchandise, right? Like, first of all, Luster and I always made merchandise that nobody would ever be embarrassed to wear. Like, we used to sell merchandise in Vegas at the casinos to people who didn't go to the wrestling show because they just thought we were a punk rock band. Like, we literally sold out of a hot tub one time because I went to the hot tub with the, oh, I got them in the hotel. He's like, oh, I want 2 of them, you know? But you have to figure out, like, I would set aside money and I would front all the cash for the next order. And I would keep track of that for Luster and I. So as soon as I was paid back, everything we sold was 50-50 at that point. Some guys like to say, I'll print these shirts. I'll print these shirts. I think Luster and I did that for a little bit, but I always had these like, oh, I want to do this shirt, or I want to rip off this show with like the Walking Scum instead of the Walking Dead. But then I had like 6 shirts and Luster had like the Switchblade and Brass Knuckles. So like I was like, well, let's just put them all together, right? I think that's the best way to do it. Matt Hardy taught us one time, always have stuff like buttons or trading cards that you can sell, and don't ever take a picture, not ever, but you shouldn't take pictures with fans, Matt said, unless they buy something. That was hard for a long time, but like he's right. You know what I mean? Like they can't come up to your table, touch all your shit, get fingerprints all over your fucking 8x10s. Look, I got a picture on my iPhone. No, fuck off, dude. Like, I got to rearrange all my shit now. You unfolded all my shirts just so you could waste. I'm sorry. Like, I know that sounds shitty, but like, I'm working, right? Reno SCUM was a brand and a business, and it was, I wouldn't say a career, but it was a supplemental income. You're absolutely right. And anybody can do that. And I learned that from El Flaco Loco very early on about branding yourself and just having shit. People want to buy shit, especially in this digital world. Get a fucking thing, tap their card, and fucking take their money. You know what I mean? And send them home with something cool and a memory. Like, don't be a dick at the merch table, but like, no, I'm not going to just take iPhone pictures. And I want to touch on like the advice I give back. I was very fortunate when I had the group of guys that I trained. I don't like training beginners. And I think there's a misconception that I only trained guys on the road, and I didn't. I had an advanced group at the Reno Wrestle Factory of, I think, 6 guys that I trained Tuesday and Thursday for 2 hours. And I was like Carl and Ryan and Wolf and Bison and Smoke and Steicher.
Yep.
And it was so easy because those guys wanted to know everything and they wanted to try it and they wanted to get it wrong. Like they got comfortable with only, I used to tell them, like, at first they'd be like, oh, do you think that was good? I was like, did you hear the crowd? They're like, yeah. I was like, what did they do? They're like, oh, they booed me out of the building, or oh, the fucking roof came off. I was like, then why are you asking me if that was good? It doesn't matter what I think, right? You already won. Like the crowd popped. I was like, how about that thing you did where nobody fucking gave a shit? That's the thing we should fix. And that's what they're like, and they would be in tune with that. Like, how come this happened? And you could dissect it. You know? It's hard because Zach told me when I first started, if you can't jump up to the second rope and do a half turn and jump off, you probably shouldn't wrestle. Like you're not athletic enough for it. I'm not discouraging it. That stuck with me since the work farm in 2001. Like I am that athletic. I could do it off the fucking top rope. Fuck you, Zach. You know what I mean? But like later on, when I started helping train people, I was like, yeah, we shouldn't be taking this guy's money, you guys. Maybe a manager, maybe a referee, maybe he's got some sort of, I don't know, computer degree. You know what I mean? That like do something. Not everyone can do this, and it sucks, right? Because you grow up loving it and you want to be Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12 like me, and I'm sure Zach, you know what I mean? Like that boyhood dream thing. But not everyone can do it. So for me, I don't want to waste either of our time because time is very precious, right? And we all have stuff in our personal lives. I have a family, right? That I don't want to take time away from when it's not going to matter, or especially when you don't care. I hate the people, hey, what'd you think of my match? But they don't care. They just want you to tell them what they did good, right? And it just goes back to, you should know what the fuck you did good. If you've been doing this for a couple of years, you should know how to go out there and do something good. What you should really want to know how to do is how to get better. Like, okay, I did this good thing, so this works, right? But where's my 4 other things that I need to work? And that's tag team wrestling too, right? Luster and I, in a sense, a lot of times we did the same match every single night, just differently, right? Based on who we were working. What do you guys do? Because I'm very confident and he's very confident in our shit, right? And our shit's safe. It looks cool. It looks violent. I remember Bret Hart talking about that. I've never heard anybody in however many years he wrestled, right? Until Goldberg kicked him. And, he always went off about that. And like, people get bumps and bruises, but I never hurt anybody. I tore both my biceps catching Fatu and Ray Phoenix on separate ears to make sure they were safe flying out of the ring. You know what I mean? I got dropped on dives, and I'm petty. I don't like those motherfuckers to this day. That's fucked up. I am dive. So I told Luster, from now on, when I dive, you're out there, because guess what? You'll catch me no matter what. So I always dove at Luster. You know what I mean? And he would always be safe, but like, I lost my train of thought.
No, I just think you were kind of talking about how, the waste of time, and the guys that you're going to coach guys that are going to take it seriously, the thirst for knowledge, and I think that's a common theme with all of us, is those are the people that you want to coach, right? And I talk about coaching basketball, and that's always the frustration, is that we all have this love for whatever it is. If it's, for me, it's basketball, pro wrestling, all of these things. But it's like, when you have the love for it and you're trying to teach someone and you're trying to help them do that thing better, and the things that you're telling them are valuable, but they're not taking those things. They don't place value in those things. They just go, oh, hey, thanks, or whatever, So I think that you're kind of going that direction with you have other priorities, right? And your priorities are your family, spending time with your friends, and ultimately, when we're in the wrestling ring, we're all trusting our lives into someone else's hands. So I think and I was talking to Zach about training and going at a specific pace, because my main concern is trying to make sure that people aren't getting hurt, and I feel like, I'm kind of the same way. Like, I never hurt anyone, maybe Zach, you might have something different to say about that, but never of my, because I did something dangerous.
Fuck yeah, I got something different to say about that. Two terrible injuries at APW, but the one was my fault. I was wrestling Adam in old school, and you popped up on the apron, and I had to take a choke slam. I was on the middle. I should have been on the middle fucking rope, but I was on the top rope. And when you picked me up 9 feet in the air, and I went straight out like I was laying in a coffin, and just head right. I was pissing in the bathroom after that at the Applebee's, and everybody was leaving because it was closing down, and I was pissing, and I was so concussed and drunk that I just fell forward and hit my head on the stall, and I'm still pissing all over myself. And luckily, I was staying at Vince DeMarco's house, and he comes in there. He's like, "Hey, prime time, where you at?" And I'm like, he's like, "Oh shit, he's laying in a puddle of his own piss in the fucking stall in the bathroom." And another one, Adam was talking about, he's talking about the dive outs. And I remember one time Teddy Hart did a moonsault, and there was 100 people out there, and I was the only one who remembered to catch him. But I shattered my tailbone at APW because I used to run and do that somersault over the top. And everybody my size, smaller, had caught me perfectly my whole career. And one night, I just go taking off right there in the old gym, and Kafu, I fly over the top rope, and it's on camera too. He just sidesteps me and lets me splatter on the concrete. And I was supposed to be out for 6 months, but I was out for 3.5 months. I was in the doggy style position at home, and my mom was feeding me soup. I don't know why I was eating fucking soup, but I was eating soup. And it goes back to that. It goes back to the damn dude, catch me. But has anybody ever beat, besides Edge killing that Bariqua guy in his debut, has anybody, which I'd love to see it, has anybody ever done a fucking plancha, rolled the guy back into the ring and pinned him 1, 2, 3?
Nope.
And we had a tag match, Adam, and I want to match review this thing, right? So I have these two students and they were making their debuts, and I thought they were going to go 4 or 5 minutes. But the goddamn guy was doing such a good job of eating the heat, and the crowd was so into him that they built a 9.5 minute match with the hot tag. And we were talking about the time. They go, "Sorry, coach. I know we were only supposed to go 4 to 5." I said, "Nah, man, you had the place going before they even locked up. And you built to this hot tag." And it was just this beautiful thing, all because they're not out there trying to, it's their first match. They're just selling for the fucking heels, man. They know that he's keep my head up. Don't die on this guy and sell. And they built to that hot tag, and the match was over. And I was doing commentary, but I just wanted to go back there and man, I was so happy because these are two guys that they've lost a lot of weight, but they're not in the best shape. And it just reminded me of, like, if you just get in the fucking ring and don't worry, and you just are not worried about trying to do so much. And you said, I always tell everyone, man, you had a great standing moonsault. And I would love it when guys would try to do it on the show. When you did it, I would go up to them and I would be like, "Hey, man, why the fuck did you do that?" "Oh, because I like it." And I'd be like, "Yeah, but Adam's on the show and he's a fucking gymnast. And he does it so slow in his entrance when he's standing in the ring when they're doing Japanese introductions." I'm like, "This guy, you can't do it better than him." So what is the point? It's not even like it's a finishing move. Like, everybody wants to do the super kick. And they come up to me and go, "Hey, can I do the super kick on the show?" And I go, "Well, are you going to beat the guy with it?" That's where I got to that point. I was just like, "Hey, fuck it, man. Are you going to win with it?" And they're like, "No." And I go, "Good, because I am." You know what I mean?
Thanks
And I would, yeah. So you do this beautiful moonsault, and then like 2 other guys on the show would do it, and they'd like hit their head on the guy or barely make it over. And I'm like, I tell them, I'd say, the dude who does it, the guy who does this the best is here, and he's gonna do it. Why? And their answer was always, "Oh, I think it's cool because I can make it around, you know? I can make it around. Why wouldn't I? Fuck, why wouldn't I do it?" And there was one thing I remembered too, because it happened on this show. So for 9 months, we got this 500-pound champion, right? And he's been splashing me. And I've been putting blood capsules in my mouth. I'm bleeding. I had to miss a main event because for 9 months, this motherfucker, every time he just lands on me like King Kong Bundy, I'm lifeless. I'm done. And on this show, the guy who's almost like a jobber on the show he gets hit with that 500-pound splash by the champion, and he rolls out of the fucking ring, and he's on his feet, and then he's posing in the aisleway. And I remember being on commentary last show, and I was like, "Oh, man." I said, "I had to get drug out of buildings for the last 9 months. I've been destroyed. My mouth's been bleeding. And Phil, he's on his feet." I said, "This guy must be built differently." You know what I mean? Because that's all I could think about doing. And I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm gonna stop here because we still got some time. But I remember I was watching that tag match, and I just thought about something funny. So the guys were making their debut, and the other guy hadn't been tagged in yet, and he was getting his ass handed to him more by the heels on the other side of the rope. And I just kept thinking in my head, I was like, what if a guy went out for a debut a couple times and he never got tagged in his debut, right? His partner just got there. So then the third match, he gets in the ring and he's telling his partner, "No, I'm starting this son of a bitch out. This is me." And then he looks over at his partner and he's like, "I got this." And he's like, "Ref, ring the bell." And the ref rings the bell and he turns around. He gets booted or closed. So his first actual thing legally in the ring is the bell rings. He gets hit with the fucking move 1, 2, 3. Man,
I'd be, I mean, you're right too, but like touching back on the moonsault too, I learned where it doesn't matter. Like when I moved out to Tulsa for a little bit and I wrestled out there and they just hated me. Like this West Coast, like I wasn't covered in a ton of tattoos. Yeah, I was a pretty good looking guy, tan, but I was a heel and I just fucking hit it and it was crickets, right? And Brent Albright was there. He did some OVW and some Ring of Honor stuff. He's like, dude, it doesn't fucking matter. He said, just go kick punch, man. Beat up the fucking good guy. Don't ever do the moonsault until they like you, And I was like, like, but I listened, right? Like, I was never above being coached to my last day in the ring, like, please fucking I used to, I, I think people are like ashamed or shy or whatever it is about criticism. Like, you're not going to get any better. Like, you think whatever your gimmick is, this new guy comes out and the splash thing, right? And he wants, like, dude, don't do that, kids. Don't do it. You ruin the show. You ruin the work that the people before you put in. Just eat the shit sandwich and get some sympathy. Get some help to the back. Look at one motherfucker in the eye, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's all it takes. Like, that's all selling is, right? I mean, Shawn Michaels, I loved him selling when, I studied it once I became a wrestler, but I felt it when I was younger, like, because he was always fucking pulling himself up on the ropes. It's fucking fake. Like, he looked like he was getting murdered and you just felt for the fucking guy. Like, don't be so into yourself and think you're so badass. Go be badass at the bar. Go be badass on the jiu-jitsu mat. Go be a fucking fake. I'm sorry. Go be a fucking fake pro wrestler when it's time to be a fake pro wrestler. Okay? Just tell the fucking story, man. You know what I mean? Iron Man doesn't come out and just start blasting people all the time in the fucking movie. He gets his fucking ass kicked. That's okay. Because someday you get to fucking come back. You know what I mean? But like, no, I can't do it, man. My family's out there. Just let them know you're okay after. Text them. Like, geez, and I'm not talking shit. Like, Luster and I used to argue about that too, because like he wouldn't want to go down for two. Like when we were on TV, like it was almost a little foreign to, because sometimes in these like multi-man matches, you just stay on the ape or the ground, right? Because the camera's not on you. And you can sit there and just fucking boop, 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 and kind of watching the fucking Tron, so you know when to fucking come back in, because the camera's never on you, right? Indie's a little different because it just feels different. But like TV, you have to get used to that. But like it was hard for him. I'm like, dude, just stay down, you know? And that would be a critique. Like, hey guys, like, just stay down. We don't want you in this background of the shot where you're looking like you're ready, right? Sit there fucking selling up at the ground like this. Look in the ring and come in when it's your time to come in, because it creates the drama especially when we talk about the tag wrestling. I hate when people watch I would hate, like, if I was getting pinned, right? And he didn't do it. He knew how to do it. But if I was getting pinned and Luster's just standing in the ring, 1, 2.5, and then he makes the save, like, those saves have to be so fucking dramatic. Like, people don't fucking get it. You know what I mean? And here's the secret. If you're off timing and you're not going to make it at 2.5 and you're only going to make it at 1, just fucking do it at 1. Don't stand there and wait for 2.5, because it doesn't fucking matter anymore. They know everybody's looking at you standing there with your dick in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid. Just save. Like, take that element of when we're actually in the moment where it's real and we're suspending disbelief, and just go for it. Because sometimes the fucking difference, like, we're in this big multi-man match at West Coast Pro, and we're doing the fucking I can't remember what they're called now. Fuck.
Shotgun finish.
Yeah, the shotguns, right?
Oh yeah.
Stuff, we're hitting the stuff, and it's hot. And the shortest guy in the match, Luster goes, hey, I'll duck the clothesline and you just roll me up and fucking stack me right in the middle of this shit. And they go nuts because it never happens, right? And like, I wasn't fucking sold on it. I was like, dude, we gotta fuck it. We could do so much more, but okay. And he was right. You know what I mean? And that's the beauty of tag team wrestling. You have to be able to admit when your partner's right, because he would admit when I was right. I would admit when he was right. And we'd argue a bunch putting the match together. And less is truly more still in tag team wrestling. I used to say more is more because I like to do a lot of stuff too at the right time. But like, when you have 4 guys and they've seen it all, but they haven't, and they won't remember it if you put a little spin on it, especially with tag team wrestling. just go home, man. Like, I remember doing matches where we do the hot tag and just go home. You know what I mean? I'd get my ass kicked for 3-4 minutes, hot tag to Lester. He'd blow like this singles comeback, put the guy in the fucking, like, tag me, put the guy in the stomp, 1, 2, 3. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't have to do a bunch. Like, LOD used to do that. The Heart Foundation, like, all those guys that we grew up watching, something your kids should go watch. Rockers, Rock Express, fucking Midnight Express, or the Orient Express, Midnight Express too. You know what I mean? Like, or go. You know what's really good, and I didn't know it at the time, and it was hard for me because I was such a WWE kid, right? I love WWE, but if you go watch old like WCW Saturday Night with those tag matches, they're the fucking best, man. If you want to really learn how to tag team wrestle, go watch WCW in that late 80s, 90s, where like you don't really know they exist, but they were on whatever it was, TBS at 6:05. You know what I mean? Like those tag matches in those studios, those fucking fans are ballistic. You know? It's awesome. And they're not doing anything. They're just fucking out the back door tag, whoop, arm drag. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't, it's so good. But don't ever be above being coachable. Like
that's important, man.
And don't be above being coachable from your partner. Like, dude, that didn't look good. Don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, it was okay with Lester and I. Like, that doesn't work. You know what I mean? We're getting too complicated. That's not. Be self-aware. Know who your team is. Know what your gimmick is. Right? That's not Reno SCUM. Yeah, we can do it, but it's like the moonsault, right? Why are we doing this?
Why?
Not that we can do it better than us, but like we don't do that as bruiser. You know what I mean? Like Lester came up with the perfect combination of athleticism and violence. So we would kind of get away with those things, right? Because I could still be athletic to an extent, but like we're fucking street punk. I mean, they don't want to see the Young Bucks when the Reno SCUM's out there. They want to see the Reno SCUM, right? They want to see the Young Bucks when the Young Bucks are out there. Know who you are and build on what you have, right? Don't, that guy's cool and I can do that, so I'll just do it. Like, don't do the fucking moonsault. Even with a fucking fake hip, if I'm at the show, don't do the moonsault.
100%, man. That goes for 3-minute warning. Yeah. 3-minute warning. And I ain't talking about Eric Bischoff's team from the WWE, ladies and gentlemen. So when I look at this stuff, man, I try to tell my guys now, it's all about, I teach my guys how to move around the fucking ring, man. And how to sell. Yep. And we had because you that's the fastest way on the show.
Yep.
The fastest way on the damn show is I rode in the car with you. I got a singlet, some fucking wrestling shoes. Who even gives a shit if I got gear yet? Promoter A motherfucker says, yo, Zach, do you got anybody you can work tonight or you can throw in with this guy? And you go, yeah, I got this kid right here. And we don't want to pick up a sack of shit and try to drag him around. I don't want to ram your head into the fucking buckle and have you bounce off of it and land at my knees and bust my kneecaps back. I don't want to fucking chase you all over the goddamn ring. I want to stand in the center of the fucking ring and I want to pop you and I want you to walk away and sell it and then just come back to me. So like, oh, there you are. Oh, body slam. Oop. Thank you for sitting up so I can pull you down. Because if you don't sit up and sell so I can pull you down, I'm going to land all my fucking weight on you when I cover you and knock the breath out of you and make your life hard. Adam, brother, this can't be the last time we have you on the show because we go 1 hour and we're there already, Paul.
Yeah.
And I feel like a piece of shit. That'd get you stabbed if you called someone that in prison, but I feel like a piece of shit. I threw you a couple bones, man, but I got caught up, man. I got caught up. My favorite wrestler was sitting over here spilling the fucking juice to me, man. And I'm over here like a kid in a candy store, even though I've talked to Adam a million times before. And I'm like, I got to respond to this. And it's just, man.
Part two, you know, who knows?
Of
so
course.
There's got to be just more times where you just pop up here on a match breakdown or something, man, because you have so much knowledge, man. I remember many times in the locker room that we weren't mean to each other, but we would I remember being drunk and staying at APW and then showing up to Rick's and all the alcohol was gone. Then I'd throw a fit. And then next time I'd see Adam, he'd be sitting he'd walk right up to me in the locker room and slam down a 30-pack and be like, is this good enough for you? Does this make you happy? And I look up at him and I go, instead of saying thank you, I'd be like, I don't know. I'll find out later after I drink them all. And just so many great moments, man. I don't know, brother. It's been such an amazing run we had, and I don't care what anybody said. And you talked about that. You talked about being on the road and all that stuff in your family. And I wanted to close out by saying, for me, I was out there, man. I was in Japan. I was Portugal. I had a list of 5 different countries that had sent me itineraries when I was doing that. It was like $70,000 in cash I gave up. And I gave it up because, brother, I could not stand airplanes. I liked being home. And I realized one thing along this way. I really love my family, and I was making just as much money running these shows in Oroville and my wrestling school, working once a month. And I just enjoyed being around all you guys, man. And I didn't like going out of the country. I didn't speak Japanese.
Yep.
I didn't like the food in Portugal, man. Why am I going to try other countries? Why am I going to go other places? And I got there. Why am I going to let some foreign guy beat the dog snot out of me for the same amount of money I can make here trying to help other people? And Paul, do you got anything in closing out, man? Because I'm actually pissed off now that we only got an hour. That we exceeded it by 1 minute and 5 because I want to listen to more of this shit.
No, I think you say you took up all the time, but I feel like I was of the 3 of us, you guys are tag team wrestlers, far more than I was. I'm just like sit back, listen, because obviously there's going to be nuggets for me to share with guys at our school. So that's the most important part. This whole podcast is about that specifically, right? We're just trying to help these guys who want to get where, Adam was, where we were trying to get, if they put them in a good position where if they want to make a living off of pro wrestling, that they're going to have every opportunity to do that.
Yep.
And they can. That's what I want to tell everybody out there. I want to tell you young guys out there, I just watched Ugly put us over on his blog, and he really put me over as running a show with young guys and taking my time with them and getting stuff out of them, the promos, and not leaving till we did. And it's just something I always look back at and I say, it's those hours you log in, man. If you decide to log in those hours, Paul, you talked many times about, hey, I went to the building when I was training at lunch for 30 or 40 minutes. And I didn't go there. You went for 30 or 40 minutes just to run the ropes or hit the corners, man, or just to be around it. And it's about the hours, and it's about always steadily improving, man. I was trained at PCW, and back then, Adam, back then it was not cool to go to another promotion.
Yep.
And I went to APW, and I realized that Modest Morgan had left, and I saw more professionalism there than they had at Iron at the time, and the doors were open for younger guys. So me and Scotty, and we brought Ollie down, and AJ, there was an opening for us, man. And that's what I always tell these young guys. Right now, the Reno Wrestle Factory is ready for the taking, man. It's ready for young guys to come in and help that company get to the next level. And it's just this stuff right here, man. We've been getting so much good feedback from so many people about how informative it is, and we're helping people. And Adam, I'm gonna let you know, brother, like you were spitting some gold right there. I got caught a few times, like the light was going here and I got caught listening to you staring into space. So I thank you, man. I've always enjoyed your work, and I was so happy when I saw you last time we were down there in Reno, man.
Yeah, I told Big Paul, like, I'm glad you guys are doing this. Like, I hope it reaches other places. Like, if you can say something for even 2 minutes out of the hour, right? And some guy in, I don't know, Ohio was like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like, you're doing your job, right? It doesn't have to be the whole hour. Like, people can roll their eyes at whatever they want. Your opinion can be your own, but like, like the local scene for sure, and like what you guys are doing is good, man. Like, it's great. It's needed because it's not just a podcast, right? It's here, listen to this, and maybe you could be a little better tomorrow. And then after that, maybe next month you could be really good. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, like, oh shit, the fucking door's open, So I don't know. I appreciate you guys doing this. Happy to do it anytime. Paul, let me know when you're going to start training people. I'll see what I can figure out to stop by.
Oh
Sounds
yeah,
good, man. I think that's the thing with Zach. Zach's like, you get him a little seasoned. That
That's
way I
what
can
I
come in and
said.
start screaming at people.
Yeah,
I changed, Adam. I changed.
intermediate, maybe. I don't know.
That's it, man.
I changed. I said, you show them how to roll and do all that shit. And then once they get to a point where I don't want to get in the ring, I'm old, bro. I stubbed my toe because I didn't lift my knee high enough coming in the house. And I sat there for 5 minutes holding my toe going, oh, motherfucker. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Zach Primetime Reeb. He's the Wrecking Ball. Paul Isadora. We want to, if you are out there, Adam Thornstowe, the rock legend Scum, he's one of the best to ever do it. He's my favorite professional wrestler. He does the moonsault better than I did. I had to do it off the ropes because he could jump better than me. You know what? At the end of the day, I realized one thing. No matter what we say, Paul, you're going to point up and I'm going to point down. Watch, like, subscribe. Please comment. For Adam Thornstowe and the 7-foot Wrecking Ball, Paul Isadora, I'm Zach Primetime Reeb. I'm going to say, hey, at the end of the day, no matter what you do, make sure we're going over.